Days before she died, Amy Eskridge wrote a message to her friends. "If you see any news saying I committed suicide, it definitely wasn't me." She was a scientist working at the heart of the American aerospace industry, and she said she had proven Bob Lazar right. What did she discover? And why did it cost her everything? Huntsville, Alabama. To the world, it is Rocket City, the birthplace of American space exploration. But for those working at the highest levels of defense, Huntsville is where the impossible is kept under absolute secrecy.
People don't know what Huntsville is. Huntsville is the biggest fucking deal on the planet that you have never heard of. No, it is. No, like, Huntsville is the Silicon Valley of government national security technology.
On June 11th, 2022, that secrecy exacted a heavy price. Amy Eskridge, a brilliant physicist and co-founder of the Institute for Exotic Science, died under circumstances that the official scientific community prefers not to discuss. But Amy wasn't just another researcher, she was an insider who claimed to have decoded what many consider the holy grail of physics, anti-gravity propulsion.
We discovered anti-gravity and our lives went to shit and people started sabotaging us, and it's a harassment, threat.
Shortly before her death, private messages revealed something that shook the foundations of ufology. Amy claimed that Bob Lazar, the man the government tried to erase from history for decades, was 100% right about the technology he studied at Area 51. But confirming this truth came with a cost: constant surveillance, home break-ins, and the use of directed energy weapons. Today, we are going to analyze the evidence Amy left behind and understand why Lazar's technology is so dangerous for those who try to reveal it. Huntsville, Alabama is not just a space research center, it is the beating heart of the United States military-industrial complex. It is home to NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center and the Redstone Arsenal. It was in this environment, surrounded by the elite of aerospace engineering, that Amy Eskridge grew up. She was not an internet enthusiast. Amy was a trained physicist, the daughter of Richard Eskridge, a NASA veteran with decades of experience in plasma physics. Together, they founded the Institute for Exotic Science, an organization with an audacious and dangerous goal: to bring gravity modification research into the public domain.
We think we need independently funded research because when you're at a university or an academic institution and you want to work on this stuff and they say, "Oh no, that's fringe, you can't do that," or you have a result that you want to publish and they say, "Oh no, that's crazy," and then so that suppresses a lot of publications that maybe are accurate, but they're perceived badly, and so professors are afraid to publish it. But if you have a privately funded research institution, you can just study whatever you want to. You don't have to worry about tenure.
Amy's work focused on what conventional science calls non-inertial effects. In practice, she was investigating how to manipulate the fabric of space-time without the need for chemical propellants. She operated within a circle of scientists and former intelligence officials, which gave her access to information that rarely leaves the vaults of defense contractors like Lockheed Martin or Northrop Grumman. For Amy, anti-gravity propulsion was not a distant theory, but a technological reality that had already been achieved, yet remained hijacked by unacknowledged special access programs. Being an insider in Huntsville meant she wasn't just looking at the sky for answers. She was looking at the laboratories and hangars where those answers already existed. And it was precisely this proximity to the source that began to turn her life into a nightmare of surveillance and threats. To understand why Amy Eskridge's claims are so impactful, we need to revisit what Bob Lazar described over 30 years ago. According to Lazar, the crafts he studied at the site known as S4 in Area 51 do not use turbines, wings, or any type of combustion. They operate through the direct manipulation of gravity. The core of this technology is element 115, which Lazar called Moscovium long before the element was officially synthesized and added to the periodic table. How could Lazar know of an element long before it was invented? However, Lazar claims that the version used in these crafts is a stable isotope, something academic science has not yet been able to reproduce. This element possesses a unique property. It generates a specific gravitational wave, which Lazar called gravity A, or the strong nuclear force, which extends beyond the nucleus of the atom. The operation of the anti-gravity propulsion system occurs in three main stages. First, element 115 is bombarded with protons inside a central reactor about the size of a basketball. This process transmutes the element, generating antimatter, which, when reacting with gas inside the reactor, produces a colossal amount of electrical energy through a thermionic generator. This energy is then directed to three gravity amplifiers located at the base of the craft. This is where the movement happens. Instead of pushing against air, these amplifiers distort space-time around the craft. There are two main modes of operation, Omicron mode and Delta mode. In Omicron mode, the craft uses only one amplifier to hover and perform local maneuvers, creating a kind of gravitational hill that the craft slides down. In Delta mode, used for interstellar travel, all three amplifiers are focused on a single point at the destination. They pull the fabric of space toward the craft, shortening the distance from millions of miles to mere instants. This is why witnesses describe these crafts tilting sideways or going belly up before disappearing at impossible speeds. They are not flying. They are falling toward a distortion that they themselves created. And according to the evidence left by Amy Eskridge, this technical description was not just the delusion of a former government employee, but the foundation of real engineering that she herself was verifying. The turning point in this investigation emerged in April 2026, when private messages from Amy Eskridge were revealed to the public. In these communications, Amy makes a statement that many in the scientific community considered impossible. She states, categorically, that Bob Lazar was 100% right. Coming from a physicist embedded in the Huntsville defense environment, this statement carries immense institutional weight. But Amy went beyond just validating Lazar's story. She provided what seems to be a vital technical correction. In the messages, she suggests that while Lazar correctly identified the components, the reactor, and the amplifiers, he understood the engineering configuration in an inverted way. Lazar described the reactor in the center of the craft as the power source and the three disks at the bottom as the gravity emitters. Amy's analysis, based on her own research into anti-gravity propulsion, suggests the opposite. The three devices at the base would actually be the power generators, while the central dome would act as the main emitter or engine that projects the gravitational field. This inversion proposed by Amy does not invalidate Lazar's testimony. On the contrary, it strengthens it by treating it as a real engineering problem that can be analyzed and refined. She believed that Lazar truly saw the technology but did not have enough time to understand its full operation, which led him to a mirrored interpretation of the system. Furthermore, Amy's messages indicate that she had cracked the math behind a sixth force of nature, a force that would allow total control over mass and inertia. She mentioned that Mark McCandlish, the illustrator who revealed the diagram of the Alien Reproduction Vehicle, ARV, was silenced precisely because what he drew was functional. For Amy, Lazar was not a fictional character, but a colleague in the field who survived only because his fame made him too visible for someone to suicide him. Unfortunately, as the messages later reveal, Amy felt that she did not enjoy the same protection. She knew she was crossing a red line that aerospace corporations protect at any cost. What transforms Amy Eskridge's case from a technical discussion into a real espionage thriller is what happened in the months leading up to her death. Amy left a record in messages and videos that her life had become a target. She reported, in harrowing detail, that her home in Huntsville was broken into and that she was being constantly followed by unidentified vehicles. But the most disturbing evidence is a video where Amy shows her own hands. In them, it is possible to see severe burns, injuries she described as the result of attacks by directed energy weapons known as DEWs. Amy claimed she was being hit by high-frequency microwave beams, a technology used for harassment and physical incapacitation without leaving conventional traces. She detailed how she felt her veins exploding and shared photos of metal blinds in her house that appeared to have melted under the impact of one of these emissions. The messages she sent to friends and associates reveal the state of absolute terror in which she lived. In one of the texts, Amy explicitly wrote that she had been marked for death by defense contractors who wanted to steal her research on the sixth force and gravity control. She knew that the financial interests behind fossil energy and chemical propulsion would not allow a free energy and anti-gravity alternative to reach the market. The most impactful phrase left by Amy Eskridge serves as a grim warning to all investigators. If you see any report saying I killed myself, I definitely did not do it. She was aware that the silencing system often masks eliminations as personal tragedies to avoid deeper investigations. Unfortunately, Amy became part of a group of scientists who, over the last decades, have died or disappeared while working on technologies that challenge the energetic and military status quo. By exposing her burned hands and her desperate communications, she was not just asking for help. She was leaving a trail of evidence so the world could understand the real danger of approaching the truth about the technology that could change the course of humanity.
My hands have been burned to hell and back as I've been typing. Because you can beam me through there and through there. And you can get a 3D image of what I'm typing. Because this computer doesn't have a Wi-Fi card. You can't hack it. But you can maybe get a 3D image of me typing. So like we just did that. And did that as an act of pure desperation. And guess what? I feel better immediately.
Amy Eskridge's story is not just about the tragic end of a brilliant scientist, but about the confirmation that the wall of secrecy is beginning to crack from the inside out. When a physicist embedded in the heart of Huntsville's aerospace industry validates Bob Lazar's testimony, the conversation about UFOs stops being a matter of belief and becomes a matter of technical evidence and institutional suppression. What Amy tried to tell us is that anti-gravity propulsion is not a promise for the future. It is a reality of the present, kept under lock and key to protect power systems that depend on our technological limitation. If the mathematics she cracked and the technology Lazar described were fully revealed, we would not just be changing the way we travel through the stars, but the way we generate energy and understand our own reality. The case of Amy Eskridge forces us to look at disclosure not as an event that the government will grant us, but as a painful process of leaks and sacrifices by people who risked everything so that the truth would not die with them. She left the messages, the photos, and the texts so that the pattern of silencing would finally be recognized. One fundamental question remains for us to reflect upon. If the technology to free humanity from its dependence on fuels and Earth's gravity already exists, why does the world still allow fear and secrecy to be the guardians of our future? The truth about what Amy Eskridge discovered may be closer to us than we imagine. And as she herself proved, ignoring this pattern could be the most expensive mistake in our history.
Documenting the facts, Amy Eskridge's own words. Please pause to read the original messages.
What would you do if you discovered that humanity could be much more developed, but because of a few tyrants, psychopaths, and magnates, we are standing still? Who do you think benefits most from our stagnation? Let me know in the comments. I am. It's safe inside. And remember, the truth may be uncomfortable, but it is the only thing that truly sets us free. See you in the next investigation.